Welcome to our podcast to Hugh McLuggage and Jared Berry, AFL Brisbane Lion players. And first of all, guys, congratulations individually on what I thought were pretty good seasons, and also on your team effort this year, getting all the way to the prelim. Obviously not quite as far as you would have liked to have gone, but upon reflection, I think you've made steps from last year, so well done.
Thanks, Endo. Thanks for having us on here. It's nice to get on.
Thanks for having us.
Support you guys.
I guess one of the things that's been pretty well documented over the past 4 years is the strong bond that you two have. Same school, boarding, same footy club, sharing a house, all of that. But I just thought we might like to delve back into a little bit about where it all started for both of you. And Jared, you're from Horsham, which is traditionally a pretty strong recruiting area for the school. We've had a lot of people from Horsham come through. And Hugh, you're actually down Allansford, just out of Warrnambool, which we don't have a huge old collegiate network down there. There are some people down there, but not a huge group. How did you end up coming to Ballarat for school? Jared, you first.
It was something that I sort of followed in the footsteps of one of my good mates, Kyle O'Connor. He sort of decided he wanted to try his hand in football, and Ballarat's probably the best place for that, whether it's at Clarendon or whatever. That's sort of a bit more in the action rather than being in Horsham where you got to travel quite a bit. I just thought, like, if I want to do that, and I'll be with one of my good mates, and I guess give this footy thing a real crack, then it was probably the smartest decision for me and my family. Obviously, we had a bit of trouble. I was going to come early, start of year 10, but that was when Mum was quite sick and that sort of stuff. So I'm glad we held off as a family, and I didn't end up going until midway through year 10. But looking back on it, the relationships I built, the way I guess I got the most out of myself from a schooling aspect as well, that's going to hold me in good stead, even if I didn't play football. So, it was one of the best moves that I've ever made.
So you came down, for those listeners, that the TAC Cup team, the under-18 team, is based in Ballarat. So you would have had to been travelling a bit to play in that competition with the Ballarat team, or the Greater Western team, as it's now known, if you hadn't moved down to Ballarat. Yeah,
that's right. And that travel time, like, it's a 4-hour trip up and back, and you're doing that Tuesday, Thursday, and then a Saturday. It's sort of it ends up being quite a big toll on young kids, and I guess I'd probably add into the enjoyment factor of football, having to do that. So I just decided it was the best move for me. Although it was pretty cold in Ballarat, I still did love the town.
And Hugh, how did you end up? You were a year later. You started in year 11. How did you end up at Ballarat?
I remember a few guys from school came down, a couple of teachers, Spider I think it was, and a couple others, and had an open night about what the school was about. And for mine, it's probably more of an academic decision more than anything. Warrnambool has some good schools, but I think Clarendon offers a real edge in that side of things, and I was excited. I hadn't even thought about moving away, to be honest, until Mum and Dad said, "Oh, why don't you just go have a look and see what it's about?" And things really just fell into place from there. It was tough early on, but my footy started to improve once I moved up, and that meant, like Bez said, that I had greater opportunity to train 2 times a week at the Rebels and develop that way. And I just really enjoyed it once I got there, but it was a pretty quick decision. Probably 2 months after we met with those guys in Warrnambool, I decided to come up.
Yep. And you've had a relative who was a teacher at the school too, didn't you?
Yeah, Ryan McCluggage. He used to teach there a while before I went there. So he obviously told me a lot about what Clarendon were all about. And I think one thing that appealed to me was the emphasis on doing your best and, the high achievement. I've always been someone that really enjoys being driven, and in both sides of things, I think Clarendon offered that. They still had a really strong sports program, but they also had a really strong academic program, and it helped me a lot for sure.
Yeah, great. So, Jared, you're a Horsham boy, as I said. And I'd like to introduce our other guest with us tonight, current Year 11 student, Ben Hobbs. Now, Ben is an aspiring young footballer who's got a resume most people will be proud of in both football and basketball, but I think football's where he wants to head long term. So welcome along, Ben.
Thanks for that.
That's all right. So before you came to Ballarat, did you know of the great Jared Berry from Horsham?
Yeah, definitely. We weren't in contact much, but I've definitely been in a small country town. You know who's doing well and what's going on. So definitely knew all the Berry boys, and they just lived over the road from us. So I definitely watched and admired what they're all doing.
Yeah, great. Bez, I know it is a common theme that some people, when they come to the school, it's a bit of a period of adjustment. Tell us about your first impressions of the school, your first, let's say, 2 weeks.
I'll probably bring my behaviour, my Horsham College behaviour a little bit, and I got pulled in line pretty quick. I was sort of, I guess, battling against teachers rather than working with them, and the quicker I worked that out and worked out that if you had good relationships with your teachers, and I guess it made school more enjoyable, and it made the workload and that easier to get through. So I guess I worked that out probably like you said, like after the first couple of weeks, and I started building really good relationships with my teachers, and now I still talk to some of my teachers and that, and I guess it's they wanted to see me succeed, and they really put their, I guess, gave me as much time as they could to try and help me achieve that sort of stuff. So it's one of those things like the more you can work with the people around you, it's so much easier and so much more enjoyable to be a part of.
Huey, what are your first impressions?
I was pretty shy sort of guy, especially back then, coming up from a small country town, probably even smaller than. I mean, I was a while out of Warrnambool, and I went to a really small primary school. So, it took me a while to get my head around things and trying to meet new people. I knew Willem Drew, who came up the exact same time as I did, but other than that, it was all a new experience, and probably didn't open up as much as I should have early on, just to all the boys and the teachers. I was probably different to Bez. I found the academic stuff, I could handle that. I'd been through that, and I had a work ethic in that regard. But trying to meet people and, as Bez said, get along with everyone, including your teachers, was tough for me early on. But once I had probably a term there or a few weeks, I just started to fit in and make some more mates and branch out. And then same as Bez, I've got lifelong friends now, and I still keep in touch with a few of the teachers as well post-footy. So, extremely happy I went there.
Was there a time early on when you thought it wasn't worth it, or you wanted to go home, and how'd you work through that?
Yeah, for me, I definitely had those moments, especially probably when you go back to your room at night and you see birthdays at home and that sort of thing, and you're not there. It can get a little bit tough, but for me, I think I just knew that if I stuck with it, there'd be greater opportunities in Ballarat than back in Warrnambool. At the time, I wasn't actually playing Rebels. I think I played the 16s, but I really enjoyed the school footy, and I really enjoyed school cricket as well. So those things and meeting the boys while doing those really helped. And then
you touched on something I want to talk about, and that's sort of your paths were in my opinion, were different into the AFL system. If I start with you, Huey, you're a bit of a slow burner, I recall, and I'm not sure you touched before, you weren't playing Rebels early on. And I can remember a game up at high school one night where it seemed like I went up to have a look, and it seemed like there was 2 Hugh McLuggages on the field. I don't know how many possessions you racked up, but you were everywhere. And I think the next week you got a game with the Rebels, and then it just kept going and going. And you've always been one, and it's been written about you that whatever level you go to, you step up to. And that was true from school to TAC, because you had an instant impact there from TAC to the Vic Country team, to the Vic Country team, to the All-Stars game. You've just been able to keep improving. What do you put that down to, your continual improvement?
It's probably just never been satisfied with where you're at. Early on, I probably wasn't even thinking about AFL or anything like that when I was back at South Warrnambool. But I guess as soon as you get a sniff that there might be a chance, I did play that game, and then I played a couple of Rebels games, and then you find that you can belong in those teams, and that self-belief comes, and then from there on, I think it's just being able to work hard is the main one. Like you can be satisfied with where you're at times. Like it's easy to play well for North Ballarat and go, right, I'm doing all right here, but I was always one that really wanted to just keep testing myself against different teams and different opponents, and that probably helped me. I learned a lot of that off Bez, actually. As he said before, he always had a strong goal to play footy at the highest level, and I'd be lying in bed and he'd be off to the gym, and he'd say, "Oh, come along, Huey," and I'd just feel like, "Oh, can't be bothered," but I'd end up getting out and doing a few bike curls or whatever. And yeah, he probably was a big driver in that, but it's probably that self-motivation and just wanting to belong at those levels, the higher up you go.
Yeah. And Jared, you from an early age were a really highly touted junior, probably one of the best in the country coming through for a long period of time there. And then things got derailed a bit. You started to get injured a little bit, didn't you, through your school years? Can you tell us what was going through your mind at that period of time? Because you probably weren't able to progress as quickly as you would have liked to have, even though you were still moving forward. And did anyone sort of help you through that period?
Obviously you have your people that I guess your close circle and your trust with. Obviously Dad's a huge part of mine, and I had a great support network at the Rebels with Pardo and Brooke Brown and all the development coaches there. So I think it was, for me, like not so much my body let me down, but being able to, I guess, recover from those sort of injuries. And I had a few bad ones, and they kept me out for a long time. And people start getting edge on you when you're not playing football consistently. So I was sort of in and out. I'd play half a season, and then I'd get injured. Or I'd play 4 games and then get injured. And I never had any continuity in my football. And I think I suffered a little bit in my 18th year, and that because of that. But now, I guess,
Huey, you're a, as you said before, a very quiet person, pretty relaxed sort of person. And I think one of the real indications for me that that's the type of character you are is that you still keep in close contact with your former staff member, Peter Manane, on a fairly regular basis. And he's also a very relaxed sort of person as well. Leading into the 2016 draft, your draft year, the talk and the hype around you as potentially a number 1 draft pick, it just grew and grew and grew. For someone so quiet, how did you handle that?
I just try to embrace it, to be honest. I mean, it probably gives you good confidence that people are talking about you in that regard. And I never really was something that I, let get the better on me, because I think school really helped with that. I always had something else to do outside of footy. I had something to focus on during the week, and then I'd only really start thinking about footy once the weekend came along.
Did both of you boys, did you know that Brizzy were going to pick you up, or was that a bit of a surprise on draft night?
It was a huge shock for both of us. I think Cog probably tells the story better, but yeah, I was just sitting there at pick whatever it was, and my name got called, and it didn't even register. I was on the table with one of the Cluggages still at the front, and it didn't even register straight away. And I remember Christine's face looking at me going like, oh my God, like she had the biggest grin on her face. And I turned to Troisy, my old man, and he smiles from ear to ear, and I'm just like, what's just going on? And then it all sort of hit me at once. Like, yeah, we're both going to Brisbane. We're starting a new chapter in our life, and to have one of my best mates do it with, it's you count your lucky stars when that sort of stuff happens.
Yeah, I saw. Obviously, I knew it was either going to be Essendon or Brisbane. They'd kept us in the dark on whether that'd be one or the other. But when I was in the back, I'm out the back doing photos and stuff, and I was watching the board on my phone to see where Bez was going to go. And when he came up as Brisbane, it was probably a better moment than when I got picked up. It was just to know I had someone that I was going to be going up there with that I knew well was awesome.
And it was also pretty exciting a bit later on because at pick 33, Willem Drew went, another one of your classmates.
Yeah. That was brilliant to see as well. To have three. Well, in that year drafted from Clarendon, and then we had Flynn Appleby, who was also in our year that went the year after that. Was pretty amazing. I mean,
I think I can remember it was a great game. It was Flynn's first trip with Collingwood up to Brisbane to play you guys, and Jared, help me out here. From my memory, he matched up on you for most of or tried to match up on you for most of the game. Was that right?
Yeah, that's right. I remember. Yeah, it was his first game. Was it?
It was big.
I'm
first
not
or
sure.
Second, yeah.
Yeah, it was one of his first ones, and we caught up with him for dinner after that game, and it's pretty cool to be going. Like we spent so much time in the boarding house with this guy, and then all of a sudden we're playing on a big stage against each other like as mates. It's pretty sort of surreal experience, and from memory, I think I busted my ankle early in that, so I was just playing out of the square, and I wasn't very mobile, but Flinny probably took the chocolates that day.
Do you boys still keep in touch with Willem Drew and Flynn Appleby?
Yeah, we still talk to those boys quite a bit, especially when we're playing against those clubs. We sort of check in and see how each other are going, and Drew still sends videos and stuff of us mucking around in the boarding house and stuff. So we actually still have a big group chat with all the Bordeaux boys, and obviously those two boys are included in that. So you can imagine the sort of rubbish that goes through there. But it's a great little crew that we had, and they're friendships that will last a long time. I think there's a few boys overseas and that sort of stuff, but like they're always going to be one of our close mates, and we'd do anything for them.
Growing up with two brothers, one either side of you, I'd imagine there'd be a fair bit of toughness in the backyard football.
Yeah. No, there was. Dad had to sometimes hold one of us by the head on this side and then the other one on that side because we were trying to go at each other. But there's some of the greatest memories I've got playing backyard football.
And what a thrill when younger brother Tom was drafted to Brisbane as well.
Like you said, it was a more proud moment than when I got called up. We were in Noosa and jumped on the FaceTime straight away because Tommy wasn't at the draft, and got pretty emotional and was just so happy for him and so happy for our family that us boys could stay together. And now a couple of years on, he's living with me, we played our first game, or his first game, in the same team, and it's been a wild ride, but it's been so good, and I can't thank the Lions and I guess everyone enough that was part of that journey. Clarendon, the Rebels, everyone's been a big part in that, and for what they've done for our family is incredible. Yeah.
Can I thank you just for spending some time with us today? We got a little bit mixed up with our time zones, with one having daylight savings and the other one not. That's why Jared's in the car looking like he's come from the gym, and Hugh looks like he's been doing a wall sit the whole time we've been talking. So thank you very much, and thank you, Benny, for participating. And wouldn't it be great one day to see either pulling on a Lions jumper or trying to chase one of you two over your 13Ks, a young up-and-coming Ben Hobbs. So thank you all for your time, and the school's so proud of you guys and what you're doing, and we love I love turning on the footy if my team's not on. I love it when Brisbane's on and being able to watch you two play. So good luck with the future. Hopefully next year you can take 1, maybe 2 steps more, and we'll be barracking for you.
Thanks, Sendo.
Thanks for having us, Sendo. Appreciate it.
No
Thanks,
worries.
And Benny, good man.
Cheers. Nice to meet you, Huey.
Yeah, you too.